This is my John Deere 755 compact utility tractor that we are in the process of rebuilding. Fingers crossed on this video, we get it to a point where we can actually turn the key and fire it up. If you've been following me on this journey, hopefully you're excited about that as I am. Remember, I'm not a mechanic. This is not a how-to. I just work on my own stuff, and I've been figuring this stuff out as I go. That being said, let's see if we can stumble our way along to get this thing finished up. On the previous one, if you remember where we left you, there's an O-ring that goes on this water pump. I cut it like 4 or 5 times trying to get it in there. So we're gonna pick up where we left off on that. I was using lube whenever I was pushing that in, just some good old WD-40, but it still cut every time. I think it's just because the O-rings are cold and not really wanting to bend. So I got some extra O-rings and some hot soapy water right here that I had over at the house. 1 out of 4, we can get that thing in there. It's this O-ring right here, and you can see every time I push it in, we end up cutting it. I think it's just a super tight fit. Cut it. All right. Let me see if some assembly lube on here might work this O-ring. I'm telling you. We're off to a great start today. Today we're really doing things terrible. You think it's because the block is just so cold, it's just contracted enough that it... Well, that cut it the worst yet. Here's a close-up of what we're trying to pull into. I took sandpaper and I cleaned this bevel up a little bit more. Not into where it actually seals. We don't want to get into that, obviously. But just clean that edge up a little bit more. I'm seriously thinking it's just so cold that that's contracted just enough that it doesn't want to take that O-ring. Guess I could go pull the engine and set it in the house overnight. That's it. That's it. Yes. Okay. So we got the old water pump here. It just locks up, and we tried getting the cover off to no avail, but we do have to get the pulley off of here. I'm guessing we're gonna have to get the puller out. So I'm showing 226 inch-pounds for the water pump, which is about 19 foot-pounds. That's what I'm running it at. Okay, pulley goes like that. And I got 96 inch-pounds for this, for the pulley cap screws. Cap screws are bottoming out. I'm missing something here. The fan. I'm forgetting the fan. That's where we're at. So before we put the pulley on, we need to do a couple things that are behind the fan while we got access now. Before we get the fan on, one thing I want to do is replace my tack cable here. You can see not a lot of good things going on there. And I can just barely see the piece that slides into that groove. Like if I just kind of look down there, I can see it. So I'm holding this end of the cable and just rotating it where I need it to go. I'm just kind of wiggling it back and forth, hoping we can get that pushed down onto there. And we should know if we have it, because I should not be able to turn that if it's engaged, because that would mean I'd be able to turn the whole engine. And I can't, so it should be on there. Here is the old cable, and what happened was the sheathing broke. And I don't know if you can see inside there, but not only did the sheathing broke, once that opens it up to the elements, the actual cable inside broke as well. We got that plug we gotta swap over. Maybe. Well, I didn't expect it to be that difficult. We're gonna snug it to there. I feel like I could pretty easily strip that out. You know, if we fire it up and she's leaking, snug it some more. The sun is shining for the first time in several days. So we're opening the door to get some sunshine in here, because I like that. Makes me feel good. We're gonna go ahead and put the fan on. So I was going to put the belt on. I got a brand new OEM belt, but I cannot find it. I know. I'm as shocked as you guys are. It'll show up at some point. Just gonna go around and snug them first. And then got the old belt. Suppose before I get too carried away, I should make sure I can get that thing worked over there. Here's the old belt for you to look at. She's not great. She's missing a few. So next we're gonna go right here on the side. This is where the fuel filter housing sits on this side of the engine. You can see on mine, this is a common breaking point for these filter housings. Mine's JB welded. I picked up, it's new old stock. I got it off of eBay, but John Deere. And it looks identical. Casting markings and everything. So let's see if we can get that put on. Something tells me something else has to go on first though. Stand by. So I got a bolt bag that says intake bracket. And I have this random bracket here. And I think this goes here. That goes through there. Okay. Okay. Some new fuel line as well. I'm just going to cut them same length as what they were. And now I lost a hose clamp. Oh, I like that a lot. Let's loosely set the injector lines up here so we don't drop anything down those holes. I need to track down a bolt for my dipstick. Can't be having that happen. Go ahead and get that throttle cable connected. And I bought the parts tractor that's sitting out back for $750. He gave me this tote of random stuff. It's got some John Deere gaskets and seals in here. I'd have to look up the part number and see what it is. There was also a John Deere OEM oil filter, which is actually the one for that tractor. So that's fantastic. I really haven't had a chance to dig through here yet. That doesn't look like it goes to the 755, but there's some extra bolts. Lawnmower chute. That might be off the 755. But anyway, the big thing I need off of here. This is the exhaust pipe. Well, that's handy. Spin this old filter off and put the new one on. Oil change was certainly on the list, and since we took everything down to the block, there's obviously none in the pan right now. So 806418. That is it. Snag me some of that. Okay. For all the people that tell me I should put all my stuff away so I don't spend as much time looking for stuff and I'm always organized, I'll have you know I took that advice in the world's tiniest 755 box. And that's where I put the belt. Hours. I'm done. I'm never getting organized. This is what happens. You can't find stuff when you're organized. Also noting though, this belt is way different than that one, so I gotta look at something. Put the alternator on and see what that belt looks like. Alternator. Yeah, confirmed. That thing would have to be tensioned out all the way to there for that to be the right belt. And it just doesn't sit in that pulley right, so I'll just do what I should have done in the first place. I'll just take that belt down to the mom and pop shop and have them hook me up with a Gates that's the same size. And then in an effort to not lose anything down the top of this water pump, I don't have the thermostat. That's something I forgot to order. So I've got a new thermostat coming for it. It's just a good time to change it out. But I'm just going to loosely fit the cover on top so we don't drop anything big down there. With all of that in place though, before we get too carried away, I probably ought to fix my mistake I made here before we get it all buried, because we're getting ready to start getting some top stuff on. I need to take the valve cover off. I need to put my valve caps on that are supposed to be on there that I forgot. And then redo the valve lashing, because I did the lash without the caps. And that's not going to be good. So we got to roll the engine over. We're looking for top dead center on the compression stroke. We're going to see the valves operate here. And we should just be able to tell by where the valves are at if we're on the compression stroke or not. So this is the intake valve. You can see it runs in line with the intake. This is the exhaust valve, runs in line with the exhaust. All right, so we're just going to watch the valves operate. You can see the intake valve here opening. It's pulling air in. The valve's going to close. My exhaust is closed. My intake's closed. So now we'll loosen these up. We'll put the valve caps on and set it to what it's supposed to be. So we're just going to loosen the jam nut. We're just going to do both at the same time. Now we just got to open her up way wide. Carefully slide in a valve cap, not lose it down the push rod hole. Run it down where it needs to be. I've always been told just a little drag, you don't want to clamp it, but just a little drag. Tighten it down. Double check. Looks good. Alright, so we should be good on that. Get this valve cover back on here. I want to go ahead and start getting this together and the intake, the breather box, filter box on. But I can't remember how that goes, to be honest with you. But I bet if we just start slapping some stuff on, we may have to do it once or twice, but I think we'll figure it out. We got a bunch of wiring here. That all runs here and there. And sometimes I'm clever. Look, I zip tied these wires together because they both go to the same place. Huh? Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, I think all this stuff has to go on before breather box. So here's the bottom of the battery tray. I should preface something, and I don't know that I ever did. This is not a restoration, right? This isn't to the quality that Neil Kolf does. I wish it was. Wish I could have that in me. I just don't. This is a let's make this thing last another couple thousand hours and run. You know, that's all I'm worried about. I'm not a restoration type of person. I just don't have that drive. Now, there's times I wish I did. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a function guy. Everything here is just loose bracketry and J-nut. It all kind of relies on itself or each other, I guess. Get it to go together. So we'll just see if we can get this stuff to run in, get started. But it needs to all work together before we snug everything tight, I think. How the heck does that have to go on first? We need to get this tachometer cable routed because it's going to follow the same route as all the wiring. Poke up through here. How is it supposed to get in there? I don't see the route. Here's what we're fighting. It's got to go right at the end of my finger there on the back of that. And we're trying to get up through all of that mess. Guide that while I push that in. Question is though, am I going to get that to screw on there? Well, I've got the collar worked up in there. I just got to get it screwed on there somehow. If I can't sneak these in to snug it on. Not sure if she's lined up right inside of it, but that's something we'll just figure out later. The hole's there. What the heck's it? Does it go there? Like, I feel like it should be something like that. So what's this stuff doing? Is it just supposed to tuck down inside there? I know this goes here. I'm pretty sure I just had, these are my wires for my winch cable, for my winch operation. I think they were just hanging out like that. It's supposed to go in here. There's a little peg down there that catches on, right? Go inside. Does it go inside the box? Wait, does this go all the way up here? Oh, yeah. Okay. I told you we're just making it up as we go. Yeah, and then, okay, this goes, I had these tucked up there. Should be able to There, like that. Yeah. Okay. Ended up going with a Gates belt on this one. Worked around here. Yeah, that looks good. All right, get this alternator snugged up and we're just gonna start moving through, getting this front end finished up. All right, so that's on. I know we've got these torqued. That's still loose, that's okay. All the holes in the water pump are plugged up. Don't forget the O-rings. See those O-rings in there? Swapped them out already. And just make sure they're there, otherwise you're gonna have a leak or two. I'm gonna start throwing some fluids in. This is my favorite part. It's where you get reminded of what plugs and caps and things you haven't put in and tightened up yet. And I think this is only like a 3-quart engine. 2.7, something like that. Yeah, I don't know, look it up. Did you look it up? No, it won't be all right. When we disconnected everything and pulled it, I just cut everything for the fuel shutoff solenoid, which is right here. If you're ever having a hard time getting this thing to start, and you know you're good here, you know you're good here, you know you're good here, and here, and it still won't start, on mine, you can see I got a splice in there. I ended up having to repair it because I had a wire that came loose and the shutoff solenoid wouldn't allow it to get fuel. But I would just manually operate the shutoff solenoid just to start it, just to test that theory. And that's ended up being what it was. I just had to repair that connection. So these wires go right here. I don't know where those go. Does anybody know where those go? Hold on a second. Where are you? What are you? Who? So in theory, the solenoid is all wired back up. I'm going to get my grounds connected here. I have no idea where this little ground went. Haven't the slightest. Get these two on. I want to get the battery in and just turn it on. See if our transfer pump works. Get those pesky chain up. Get those out of the way. Can we just sit her in there now? Oh, look at that. Kind of fits. Everything else is self-explanatory. Makes sense. Clicks in. We got the little exciter wire down here at the bottom of the starter. Everything else makes... Oh, look at this. Look at here. Now that would have been a surprise. I think the last big connection we have is the thermostat housing. I'm just throwing the old thermostat in there for now. I got a new one coming. It's just not in yet. The weather has kind of put a damper on some of the shipping time frames that we initially had. What I found is 180 inch-pounds for these. Let's go ahead and put that on. I also have brand new air filters coming in for this as well. Again, they're just a little slow on the shipping with everything going on weather-wise, and that is completely understandable. Slips down in this hole here. And it goes like that. Maybe you should have put that little short boot on first. That could be a challenge. Yeah, perfect. And in a moment of realization, I just realized where these wires go. It's the transfer pump. Why did I rip those out of the transfer pump? This isn't a good feeling right now. The next step was to bleed things. Now the next step is to take the transfer pump off. I am my own worst enemy, I'll tell you that. What am I talking about? I got a parts tractor. I'm just going to take the transfer pump off that tractor and plug it in there. I don't know why I ripped those wires out. It had one. It's a little different. It feels a little lighter, but it will work. It is labeled in on this side. All right. I got that on there. I'm going to put some coolant in. Crack that bleeder there. Shouldn't take that long. This could be the classic no fuel mistake. Do believe it is. All right, now she's got some fuel in it. I feel like that's going to help things. I think this transfer pump's bad. Let me show you why. I got some stuff rigged up on the old one. Check out the action we get with it. Certainly not the warm and fuzzies we're getting with this one. Some blade connectors with some copper sticking out. So I'm just on 20 volts here, and when I go to this one, and I'm on a ground over here, we get up to our battery voltage, which is 11.3 at this point. If I go continuity to the ground, why is it not showing anything there? I just don't understand why I'm not getting continuity back to the ground. Is my ground bad? The ground in my harness is bad. We could test that too. What if we bypassed the harness and we ran this pump straight to the battery? Oh, listen to that. Okay, so I got a problem in this harness, and I think it's with the ground, which could have something to do with the fact that that's not running. So we're just going to hardwire that straight to the battery. Oh, easy, bud. Now she's doing something. Look at there. That didn't take any time at all. Okay, we'll just go ahead and unplug that real fast. So we got fuel to the injection pump. The next thing I'm going to do with these lines off, we're just going to crank it, because now we're in the mechanical portion. We're going to crank it until fuel comes out of each one of those holes. I must plug the fuel pump back in. I'm not getting any fuel coming out of those. We're two here, right? Let's double check that we're two there. Fuel shut off solenoid. Look at there. I don't think this shut off solenoid's working. That should be off. That should be on. Off. Kills it, lets it come this way. On. Should hold it open. I got some wiring to work out, don't I? Fuel. All right, we got fuel coming out of every line. Hard to believe that my wiring's not working out, isn't it? It's gonna be hard to pick up on camera, but now we just go line by line. And as fuel comes through that, we snug those down. Except that one I can't. Okay, I think I got them all tightened down. You guys wanna see something? You wanna see something? You wanna see what happens here? So far, so good. My favorite part was where it didn't start. I'm gonna pull this intake back off so I can get a little bit better access to these injectors. A little bit difficult getting to them with this on. I'm just gonna unbolt it and pull it off. And then we can just double check we're not pulling any air with the loose injector. Definitely a possibility. Pull it off. Slide it over. That's pretty snug. This one's tricky to get to. That's pretty loose. Pretty snug now. In case I get desperate here, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the glow plug wire as well. Glow plugs and starter fluid don't mix well. We'll let this clear for just a minute. I don't know what's going on with this flywheel back here, but it's not happy about something. I think, best I can tell, it's just rubbing on the flywheel shield. I think that shield's got a... Shield's got a... Can you see that? Oh, not where you're looking, you can't. Can you see how that shield has a bend on the top? Just this flywheel cover. It's hard to tell on the camera, but if you get down there and look, there's no clearance on the very top of that flywheel and the shield here. So I'm honestly thinking maybe just a pry bar in there and see if we can't just reshape it a little bit. No, that's not the gasket. That's dripping from up higher. Where's that drip coming from? Could it be as simple as that hose might just be leaking, I think. Other than that interference on the flywheel, all I hear is just some rattling from stuff that isn't attached yet, like that stuff. I think it is, though. If I can get under that. Looks like a real professional repair there. All right, let's see if I can get that shut-off solenoid tied back. Yeah. That sounds way better already. It's just an interference from that shield. Everything else is just stuff rattling, but I'm gonna let that run for probably 10 minutes or so like that, and then we'll give her a little bump. What a treat. Huh? How about that? Where did that go? Okay. All right, let me show you. So the one leak that we got is that coolant leak. And it is in fact not the hose. You can get a real good look at it here. It's actually dripping out of that plug right there. So that doesn't surprise me too bad. I wasn't super confident about that plug, so I gotta do something about that. But other than that, I don't see any other leaks. There's nothing seeping or puking out of the head gasket. Valve cover looks good and dry. I got nothing against what's going on right now. Alternator's working. I tested that while we were running. She's charging great. So we just got some wiring to get straightened out on this thing. As far as the shutoff solenoid goes, and why we're not getting good power to the transfer pump. And then some cosmetics, a little bit of light action, the hood, the side panels, all that fun stuff. Pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to disconnect the battery and all that. And yesterday I got the piers poured for the bridge, the walkway that goes onto the YouTube yacht. So next video we'll be building the framing part of that, so we can actually have the bridge onto the YouTube yacht. So that'll probably be the next video. And then I don't know.